Yes, welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network for the first of our preview podcasts as we head towards season 51. Here today to preview Kenan Thompson returning for his 23rd season on Saturday Night Live. My name is Schneider from the SNL. So excited to be back with you for the first of many days in a row while we talk about all of these new cast members and ramp up towards our coverage of season 51. We are, of course, here as a presentation of LateNighter.com. And I'm so excited to bring in many of our podcasters who will be with us along for the ride all season long. And first up, we got to bring in my man, TJ Randolph. TJ, how are you?
John, I'm fantastic and feeling great to be here. Kenan's coming up on his 23rd season. And unlike the Blink-182 song, What's My Age Again, where people, profess that nobody likes you when you're 23, we still like Kenan in his 23rd year. So, I'm happy that Kenan's around. He's it's going to make us feel good. So I'm happy to be here to talk about what feels like some stability in a tighten-up culture.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean,
Yeah.
What's My Age Again came out 4
Right?
years before Kenan
Right?
Thompson was on the cast. So that
Well,
song's
actually,
just
no,
a
did
little
it
bit
come
older
out?
than
Which
I think it's a
version?
99, that one.
You know what? I think I only heard it. What is it on the greatest hits, which is I think it was like early. Was it probably 2003? So that's where
Okay.
I heard it.
That lines up with Kenan's timeline there. So it's
Oh, that's
that was a
crazy.
good pull, TJ. But yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
thank you.
yeah, Kenan Thompson, like I said, 23 years on the show, obviously, comes in with finesse back in the day in season 29, and we're on season 51 in a time when I think most people thought, you could squint and see that Kenan may not still be on the show, because it did feel like the perfect storybook ending last year when we were previewing season 50, talking about the potential of saying goodbye to somebody like Kenan. Clearly, he has decided to stick around, and we will have him this season. And like you said, TJ, a lot of stability he does bring to the show. But just, going through all of our coverage of the last few years, we spent, a few years in a row, seasons, 48, 49, maybe some of 47, talking about Kenan continuing to dominate so late in his career. It did feel a little bit like Kenan took a step back last year. Did you also feel that?
I mean, I could definitely say that because there was just so much that they wanted to do. They wanted, just like every season of SNL, they wanted to feel like a party, but there was something that felt like there was a little bit of a glimmer in the eye of the show, and that Kenan was. It was nice to be a piece of it, but like, how many Kenan standout pieces can we really say that there were from last season compared to John? You might have to correct me on this. I want to say the season where Sudeikis hosted, out of his 46 or
That was
47, which I feel
47.
like
So,
yeah, I feel like a pretty strong Kenan season, I think.
yeah, that was for sure. I mean, he doesn't he hasn't in a while had like many nights in a row where he's just leading a million sketches. But for a while, he was consistently in like 4 to 5 things a night, getting a lot of screen time. And then he did take that step back last year a little bit. And I would say we started to leading up to it. And I had wondered if perhaps we had finally hit that, veteran
Yeah.
peak of like after 23 years, like I don't know that he has the stamina to keep going. But
I'm
yeah, he
pretty sure
decides.
he's just in his 40s. So like, he's stamina.
No, but like, yeah, you're right. But there are athletes that don't have what they had in their 20s. Like, you have to keep in mind, like, it is not a professional sport in the sense that, like, they train their whole lives to get to this point. But if there's anyone that applies to, it is somebody like Kenan Thompson, who, comes from, child acting, being on Nickelodeon, being in sketch. I mean, the guy was in a sketch with Chris Farley once upon a time. Like, he's been doing this his entire life.
Wait,
So,
what? Wait, hold on. What are you talking about?
oh, you've never seen that? Yeah, this is pre SNL days, but
Okay,
yeah,
all right. So this isn't on the show. I was like, I feel like
no,
I would
not on
have
the
at
show, not on
least
the
seen
show.
that. All right, was this on
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that?
yeah, very famous moment.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Chris Farley, Kenan Thompson, like just one of those like epic crossover things that you like wish could happen in your mind, and
That's incredible.
that did happen. So I mean, this guy's been doing this forever. So I would think that like he just might not have the energy to be in a million things in a week, and I think that's okay. He could just be something that like he's gonna give that extra cherry on top to a sketch. You mentioned, TJ, some of the things last year that he was in. We got to see like a few things on Update. He did a Willie. He brought that back for the Bill Burr episode. Kendrick Perkins on the Gaga episode. I believe that he did. He did his sexual harassment character, sexual harassment Charlie, in the Chris Rock episode. there was this Addicts Anonymous sketch in the Quinta Brunson episode that he was a big part of, as well as that last episode where he played Kanye West in an elevator opposite of Mike Myers, where a lot of people were like, "What is going on here?" So there was some like,
Oh,
there's,
wasn't it? Yeah, that's right.
it was weird. It was a weird moment for for Kenan as Kanye.
Choice. He's had such fun playing. I don't know if anyone else has this observation, but I feel like he's had fun playing creeps in the past like 5 years. Now, Keenan's always played a weirdo. Think about like a Googie Renee, like just like these weird, odd characters. Also, shout out to Googie. But like, there's something about like there's a creepiness, like maybe all the way back to when like Keenan played Bill Cosby. I think in a jail cell. I want to say early in the 40s.
Yeah, I'm
Of the
gonna say that was like 44 or something like that.
yeah. But like John, we're forgetting a big narrative detail here. This is a black man with a good job. All right. Like he's not trying to leave at any point. All right. This is a good job. They want him around. He's look, who are we to say that this black man needs to leave? Also, Keenan I think the difference between an athlete and a comedian is that we just saw Bill Murray like at the 40s. We've seen what Steve Martin and Martin Short like on a show for 5 seasons with one of the world's biggest pop stars. And yes, those might be in more edited or more small capacities. What Keenan is doing is definitely not Herculean. It's a lot. Like you're doing 20 to 21 live shows. Like it's a lot. Like working at that tempo, at that temperature. But like two pieces to his credit. One, he's been doing that tempo for a long time now. He's been doing it longer than Daryl Hammond. Matter of fact, what is it? Lauren is probably the only other person in who's the costume guy? Yoshi. I can't remember what his name is.
Akira Yoshimura.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's only but so many people working at the show, working at this pace and speed, which means this is his life. Like he's like set to it. He's tuned to it, even though many other cast members have been. So like it's not like he spent what the larger portion of his life now doing this. It's from his 20s and his 30s. So it's not. It's like I don't know. I don't want to say it's like LeBron or like another basketball player, but it's not without experience that lends him to this. But then also comedy is different. I think maybe we have to be more concerned about like Keenan's mental health, more than it maybe his physical ability, because we got to think about writers getting burnout, tensions inside of the building when it comes to people, when it comes to sketches or ego, jealousy, anger, drugs. But Keenan largely seems to have just been coasting through all that craziness and turbulence that
Yeah.
like many other cast members, even one of our newest, Marcelo Hernandez himself is going through, in the sense of like, sorry, I shouldn't say things like this because this is also a press platform. But what I'm saying is there's plenty of cast members that have lots of things going on. And Keenan, he's a father. He doesn't seem he had a sitcom during this time. Like all of this hullabaloo I'm getting at is that I think his experience has shown that he's maybe just built for this. And I don't
Yeah.
think it's a fair thing to think of. I don't think it's a fair thing for us to ask anymore, when is Keenan going to leave? Because I think it's been 23 years. Like I don't think it's that.
I
That's
think
the
it's
question
fair to
anymore.
ask that, but I don't know that there's a clear answer anymore. Like it felt like 50 was like a really easy way to answer that, where like on the
Mhm.
biggest season ever, we're gonna say goodbye to somebody who's helped define the franchise, like who, in my opinion, is a top 10 cast member of all time, and you can't tell the story of the show without him. Now you could start to
Literally.
want, yeah, and now you could
Literally.
start to wonder, does he just stay on the show forever? Like, does he just stay there until the show is done? Or if the show, I think we could start to maybe put bets on, is Kenan going to be there longer than Lorne Michaels is going to be there? I mean, nobody knows when Lorne is going to leave, or what will happen with that. But regardless, you have to wonder now if Kenan's like, well, as long as Lorne is here, I'm going to stay here, which is just an interesting thought experiment
It really
to
is.
start to think about, whether that's 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, like what really that is, or if he stays on and continues to be on the show. Because I think that from where I was sitting the year at this time, I felt pretty confident that we wouldn't be talking about his 23rd season. Now I think it is a blank slate, and he could just continue to be there for a very long time.
John, I've been watching Kenan since, all that Kenan Nickel. I'm 32, so I've been raised with this man. I don't know if I've been alive when he has not been on television, or at least been able to watch TV. And I've seen a lot of his highs, and I've seen a lot of his attempts as well, like as a young black person. And I have the utmost respect for him. But when you're in this business, it takes a lot to try, and sometimes things don't work. There are a lot of people who are used to dealing with failure, and I may have joked earlier about like, oh, like, don't try to get like this black man has a job. So like, why, like, let's not worry about like when he's going to leave. He's a good job and he likes it. But like my dad like got us Fat Albert on DVD. I watched Good Burger. Well, actually, Good Burger is a separate entity. People love Good Burger, but like I watched Fat Albert. I like watched some of the Kenan like sitcom. Like, there's been other projects he's tried, but like, is it a question that when we see Kenan, and by the way, I mean this in no disrespect to him, but I wonder if Kenan himself, and this is for a conversation for him to answer, and this is not at all a judgment. I wish he could have like an opinion without having like a pressy, like people spin words kind of vibe. But I
Yeah.
wonder for him if he has a concern when it comes to his career. Does he ask himself the question, which I think many cast members have asked themselves? You wonder, has Mikey Day asked that question? Because I'm wondering if Mikey's slipping into Bobby Moynihan territory, where it's more just he's going to be on the show for a long time.
We'll say that
But
for the Mikey pod.
yeah, it does beg the question: does Kenan, is there a part of him? I'm assuming there's at least part of him that's maybe worried about. He's tried these ventures, he's tried the Good Burgers, he's tried all these things, and thankfully, being on SNL has kept him not in the limelight, but it's kept him having a career. Like, so it's good working, and he's tried these other avenues. When Kenan got renewed for a season 2, and he still didn't leave the show, is there a piece of him that is worried? That's not me trying to incept anything, but is there a piece of him that wonders, okay, is he looking for the next stable thing? In the world of acting, there's not a lot of things such as stability. So I'm
Yeah,
wondering
but
if that.
I would say no, because I would say that I think it's one of those things that it's not that he's looking for the next thing. I think he figured out how to do everything he wants to do and still stay on SNL. Like, I don't think Kenan stays at the show if the show was operating as it did in the 80s, where people couldn't go out and do other projects. Like, I think he can write a book. I think he could be in movies and TV shows, and he can find a way to work that in with SNL. And they're always going to accommodate him because it's Kenan. So you're totally right. He has a good gig. He probably has one of the best gigs in all of entertainment. And
Literally, like, oh my god.
yeah, so
Can you imagine?
it totally makes sense for us as fans. I was looking for that storybook ending from Kenan. I don't know when that will come, but hopefully one day we will get to close that chapter. Just not because I want him to go, but because I want him to get his recognition. But regardless, he is coming back for season 51. I will say one last point before we start to turn our attention to what we're going to see from him this season is that I think that Kenan Thompson will give the show whatever they need from him. So, it seems that they're needing to use him a little bit less. I mean, it will be interesting to see, what type of roles they can put him in this season. But clearly, in the 50th anniversary special, we saw a vintage performance from Kenan Thompson, who came out and just was dominant throughout that 3.5 hour event. So, like, I know he still has it in him to do that every now and then. I just think probably the show doesn't feel like that's the show that they want to produce. They don't need it to be the Kenan Thompson show. They're just happy to have him there to give boosts to other sketches and every now and then have a good sketch on his own. So that's sort of like how I feel things have led up to this year. But now he's coming back in, Lauren described this as a little bit of a shakeup. It's sort of like, I would say it's not really a shakeup. It was a little bit of a shake, not a shakeup. But this is probably the 5th or 6th or 7th time in Kenan's career that he's been around while there's been significant movement in the cast, with a few people coming out and a few new people coming in. So he's very used to fresh people trying to find new chemistry with new cast members. What are you most excited about for Kenan Thompson this year?
The thing I'm most excited about when it comes to Kenan is I'll be honest, I'm glad he's still there. And you want to know what's tough about it?
What?
Is I think, given that I've seen so much of what he can do, I'm not saying I've seen everything, because who knows? But given that I've seen so much of what he can do, I'm almost more I'm glad he's here. Like, I can go to him and I can like trust him with. You can trust him with anything on the show except Treese. Treese is the one thing. I hope I never see another Treese another day in my life. Kenan, my brother, I love you to death. But if I see Treese one more time, sorry, John, I just had a bit of I blacked out for a second. I'm so sorry about that. I think I'm just excited that he's there. I'll be honest, the loss of Heidi, and this wasn't something we were like podcasting about at the time, but like the loss of Heidi just like hit me like a truck. And I didn't realize it was going to, because I think it was in that I realized that she was my favorite cast member of all time, even over Cecily Strong. And so with that massive truck hit, like I need something that's gonna feel like I almost felt like with this cast shakeup, if I wasn't doing the SNN, it was the first time I wondered to myself, am I now going to be part of the generation that is not understanding as much as what's going on with the show? So when I see Kenan, when I see Mikey, and I see Bowen, Ego still sticking around, that makes me feel better because I'm like, okay, I'm still aging and growing with this cast, but you see like how the younger people come into SNL, and that's great, and I like that. But I think seeing somebody like a Heidi leave makes me worry about that. But it seeing somebody like a Keenan stay gives me that security. So I'm excited to see. I'm excited for him to make me feel like I can still enjoy the show and not become jaded by it just quite yet.
I agree. I mean, I think that's what it's always been for me with Keenan is that despite, me wanting to celebrate his career and wanting to be able to figure out how to, write the epitaph for his time at the show, I do feel like there's a thread to my childhood with having Kenan Thompson there. And it makes me, it always makes me happy to see him there. I never think that he makes a sketch worse. So I always look
Which is a
forward
rare
to,
ability, except for
yeah,
Trist.
it's
Except for
one of the
Trist.
more, yeah. Well, I do think that he has the unique ability that is, only the rare of the best SNL cast members ever have. So I will say this: there's a couple things that I'm thinking about when it comes to him in season 51. Number one is I have heard that Brian Tucker, who has written with Kenan for many years, may not be around as much this season as he was over the last 20 years.
That's the
I
Black Jeopardy writer, right?
yeah. I mean, he's written a ton of stuff. He used to write with Sudeikis a lot. He's written with Kenan a lot. Writes a lot of his update pieces with Kenan. So that's an interesting spot for Kenan to see like who will write for him a little bit more, especially if Tucker's not around in the fall. So I'd be curious to see that just from like an outsider's perspective, to keep an eye out for when we start to see the writing credits and who's filling that vacuum a little bit among the new writers.
But it's such an entrenchment. You like it. I can't imagine it. Like Keenan probably knows the vending guy. Like he probably knows everybody in that building. Actually, no, it would be curious. Like, what are Kenan Thompson's connections like? Because you can't go 23 years working with one writer on that show, or maybe you can. That's what Mikey and Streeter are doing.
Other people have written for him.
I can't imagine. Yeah, I
But
can't
Tucker's
imagine.
like his writer. That's what I would say. Like Tucker is his writer. I mean, this is a guy that goes back to writing for the Chappelle Show. Like he knows how to write for Black performers.
Yeah, no, he really does.
Yeah, and in a writer's room that's like not always the most diverse in the industry. Like I think that it's important to have people who know how to write for Black performers. Speaking of, like
Tucker's white, isn't he? If he's the guy I'm thinking about,
yeah.
I love. I I've seen him on the Chappelle Show too. I love this guy. He's like
Roy.
He's like a Neil Brennan. He's one of the ones for us.
Yeah. He's been in a lot of sketches too. So Brian Tucker. But so I'm interested to see like what happens with that. I believe he is returning to the show at some point. I just don't know if it's exactly going to be at the start of the season. So that's something to keep an eye out on. And then the other thing is like I'm curious to see like if he takes Cam Patterson under his wing, like what that relationship's like. And, that's something I mean, I want to ask you, TJ, about it because they're the only two Black regular performers on the cast, obviously Che on Update, but he had clearly a very up and then very down relationship with Chris Redd that ultimately led to Chris Redd not being on the show. Devin Walker has now left the show. And I mean, I believe, Devin, among other performers who not just the Black ones, have also said that Kenan has taken them under their wings, under his wing. But I'm curious about like how it's going to work with Cam Patterson, who might be the most outgoing personality we've seen on the show in a very long time. And Kenan's definitely like more reserved, but I'm curious as like someone who has talked a lot about diversity at the show in Kenan Thompson and having someone like Cam join, if there is some sort of relationship there or what type of roles Cam would take versus Kenan would take. Like I can't help but have this discussion.
It's funny because Cam Patterson, for those who don't know, comes from the Kill Tony world, which is more of that like Austin, like Texas, like comedy scene, like that. It's kind of headed up by like those Joe Rogans. Pause for a second. If you even think that that's the group I'm rocking with, you don't know me very well. I'm just explaining to you what it is. But Cam Patterson, the way that Kill Tony works, for those who don't know, it's a live show that they do every Monday. It's kind of like a comedy open mic, except it's done like a lottery system, and you get picked from a bucket. And you can do 60 seconds of stand up. If if the crowd likes you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. But then afterwards, the host will talk to you, maybe roast you a little bit. And the longer they talk to you, usually depends on the performance of your set. Netflix recently has done has given Kill Tony a couple of like abilities to not debut their platform, but basically produced a couple of their specials. And so, funny enough, um, Cam Patterson was on. I think they've only done two of these so far. And I only watched them when they come on Netflix. So I was like, let me give it a try and see what it's about. Because I knew Shane Gillis was involved with it, and so I checked it out. And Cam Patterson is on the most recent one that just came out, like within the past week or two. And it's like, I don't know if you saw this, like John, but like it's seeing it on Netflix was very funny, the timing, because it almost seems like I'm almost sure they knew that at least he auditioned at the time. Like I'm sure that Tony Hinchcliffe and the other comics that were on there, I'm almost sure they knew he auditioned, because they were like, big things are coming for you, man. Like you're going to be seen everywhere. Like they're like really laying it on super thick, which I like, that audience aside, like I think is a lot of fun. Because at the end of the day, it's a young stand-up that's like getting the chance to go forward. So I think it's really interesting. So Cam Patterson, seeing his set on Kill Tony, I liked his set. But it's funny, given that like my first interaction with him, seeing of him was so recent, so new. Like it's kind of crazy. I was like, oh wait, I've seen that guy. He was just on Netflix. And like that's like, it's random how they have these performers go up on Kill Tony. So Cam reminds me a little bit of Chris Redd, except I think Cam has a much bigger built-in audience than Chris Redd did. Yeah, Chris Redd did the Lonely Island movie that we all know and love, but like he did not have that face. Like Kill Tony has an audience, like a
Yeah.
really solid, like they have like people are going to be rooting for him. And this is one of the first cases where a new black cast member like they aren't going to need. I'm sorry. Okay, he would be stupid to not take Kenan's advice. Like everyone should be listening to what Kenan has to say. But in terms of like stardom, he may not necessarily need as much as Kenan might have like needed to give to a Chris Redd in terms of taking under the wing. But may not be like saying that correctly, but basically he's probably the most famous new black cast member in a long time.
Yeah, I think you're making an interesting point. I'm not trying to make the assumption that every time a black male cast member is hired, that Kenan Thompson has
No,
a
it's fine. I
relationship
think
with
it's
them.
a fair
But
assumption.
but
I think it's a
it's
very
something
fair
like
assumption.
when you only have two black men on the cast, and they basically had that ever since Jay Farrow joined the cast back in 2010. They basically had two black men on the cast, between Jay and then Chris Redd, and then eventually Devin, and now Cam. And I just think that based on the conversations that Jay has talked about, and Chris, obviously Chris and Kenan were very close at a point, and Devin's also mentioned about Kenan is so great to him. Like this is something that I think is a storyline that is worth looking into. Cam, probably you're right, has that boisterous personality that Chris may have brought to the show a little bit when he was first on there that you saw, and it's interesting to think about the possibility of Kenan and Cam together, because to me, besides the fact that they are the two black men on the cast, I think they couldn't be more different, TJ. So it's
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, and Kenan's older too, so like Cam has that young nigga shit. Like he has that like in him. That stuff that like is very much fading out of me, John. Look at me, I'm wearing a Tommy Hilfiger polo. Like it's very much like gone from me. Like I have a garage. Like I'm not from the hood as I remember myself coming up as. But it's he's this young like Texan kid. I don't know if he's from Texas, but like also what's interesting about him is Cam feels very grassroots, because like Kenan was I don't know if Kenan was never a stand-up, but Kenan's always seemed like he was an actor. Whereas Cam, to get your first like kind of big break from like pulling a bucket in a lottery. And by the way, this is like he didn't pull it when he was on Netflix with Kill Tony. Like apparently he's just become a big regular with that audience. So like to really build something up, I think it's very like fascinating. I actually worry about it. I am actually a little bit more concerned, because he has that much like of a reason to not listen to Kenan's guidance. Like Kenan is an OG at this point. And Cam could go in there thinking, well, I've already kind of had the success for myself. Granted, like maybe that's not what Cam, like, it's not my place to say what Cam is thinking. What I'm
We just don't
saying
know.
is that, like,
We're speculating.
we don't know. And there is, like, I'd be very curious. You would hope that they would work together, but they are very different. Like, it's actually, it's a little bit like, oh, could this be something that could create like tension for Keenan? Like, granted, he's probably had tension with other cast members before, but
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I would assume that anybody, black or not, coming into Saturday Night Live would have the utmost respect for Kenan Thompson. It's just
They
interesting
better.
from it's just fascinating to think that, like I said, how from an outsider's perspective, how different Cam and Kenan are, and how that will play into what we may see on screen, and how these things get developed. So I think it is one aspect we have to think about when it comes to previewing Kenan's season 51. But yeah, I'm very
Let me ask you
excited
a question real quick. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Can I
Yeah,
ask you another question? Do
sure.
you worry about? Here's my other, not concern. Here's my other thought. Will Cam and Marcelo's energy, will it create an incredible energetic duo, or behind the scenes will they go like at each other? And I don't mean that in a clickbaity way. I'm wondering, like, how will their personality? Those are the two I'm thinking about. Like,
Yeah,
Marcelo's a star, and
I
Cam has like that. And like, I'm really wondering about those two, how they're going to interact. If they're going to, like, you would want them to collaborate well, but I would wonder, if they're going to be able to find that right ability to work well together. That's who I'm thinking about. But I know
I
that's
think
not
they're
about Keenan.
boys right now. I'm
That's fair.
pretty
I think that's
sure.
fair.
I'm pretty sure they filmed a movie together at some point coming out
Hmm.
soon. So I think they're friends.
Oh, that's great.
I could see there being like they're the type of personalities though that I could see like butting heads at some point.
Because they're so big in the room. Like, they're
Right.
such big personalities.
Yeah, like you do feel like Cam has that type of personality that like he could be the leader of the cast one day or be the star of the show, and Marcelo certainly is
Absolutely.
developing into that. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how they coexist together. So we'll put a pin in that when we preview Marcelo and Cam, obviously, eventually down the road in this podcast series. But certainly that's something to think about. I would assume that probably is they create more of like a group together, like an alliance between Marcelo and Cam, and maybe
That
Ben
would be
Marshall. Like
wonderful, you know?
they put each other in their sketches.
Yeah.
So it's something interesting to think about. But just jumping back to Kenan here as we start to wrap up our discussion today, TJ, on previewing Kenan's return for his 23rd season. Overall, are you excited? Is there anything that you're looking forward to or wanting to see from Kenan Thompson this year in 2025-26?
Yeah, like, I'll say the classics, but unfortunately, I don't think they need to return right now. But obviously, like, I love What's Up with That, and I love Black Jeopardy. Like, you could, to be honest, God, I could use a Black Jeopardy like every 3, 4 episodes, honestly. But like, I think what they did in the 50th was so good that, like, I don't think you need to bring it back. And I think What's Up with That, I don't know how much you could really return to that well. So I think that's the reason I'm more just excited is not the right word. I'm glad, I'm happy, and I'm content to see Keenan back. But I almost would wonder, not if he could do something new, but I still am. I think he's still going to make me laugh. You know what? Actually, what I would like to see, give me a Googie Renee. I know it's out of nowhere.
I love it.
Give me a Googie. Who doesn't love a Googie Renee? Like, if I saw a Googie in season 51, like, I'll still be happy regardless if there's not. But like, I think that's one thing I think I would have some fun seeing.
I love a good Googie. That would
I
be great
love
for
it.
me. I mean, we brought, like I said, we brought sexual harassment Charlie back. We could bring a Googie Renee. I do think we might need Tucker for some of those, but maybe
Mhm.
down the road. It'll be very interesting to see. I'm so excited for Kenan Thompson this year, and just for him to make me laugh all over again for the 23rd season in a row. So looking forward to that, and to talk about all of these cast members returning for season 51. This is just the first of many preview podcasts we will be doing every day here on the SNN as we head towards the start of season 51. So very excited to be here. If you're enjoying everything you see, please subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify to never miss when we have something new coming out for you. We are just wrapping up our countdown of the greatest episodes of all time that we've been talking about all summer long here on the SNN. So if you want to catch up on those podcasts, those are available to you. And we just released season 24 of Everything You Need to Know About SNL, our series where we go through all of the seasons and tell you the best things that happened every year at Saturday Night Live. TJ, thanks for joining us on the show here today. So excited to talk through this entire season with you.
I'm really glad to have been here, John. And also, a hot take: Sex Ed Vincent is more fun than Sexual Harassment Charlie. So just want to put that out there.
I
Um,
like the take.
Listeners, right now, I have some podcasts that I did in the past. Rabbit Trail, that's RABID Trail, as well as the Team Trashcast. These are podcasts I did with my friends. Some of them talking about being in your 20s. Another of them is a 15-minute podcast where we just, I don't know, made a podcast that people can vacuum or clean their house to. You can find both those anywhere that you can podcast. But if you want to interact with me, you can find me at King Compliment on Instagram.
Thanks, TJ, for joining us. And you can follow us on all social platforms at the SNL Network to see everything we have wrapping up to season 51. We are, of course, here as a presentation of LateNighter.com. And on behalf of TJ, my name is John Schneider from the SNN. We will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.
It's on the Saturday Night Network.